Now back to where we are. We are going to talk about types of real value function. Now, my further video, my other video, I told you the meaning of range, codomain, and domain. So I want to elaborate more on the types of real value function which you can meet in your calculations very soon. So now we have five types of real value function, and here now we have the algebraic function. So the algebraic function now, all what we know, I think most of you are saying particular about the quadratic equation, which we used to we used to talk about the powers. So anytime you see a power, maybe raised to power 2, raised to power 3, we talk about the what? Algebraic function, which is x raised to power squared minus what? Minus 4. So now we now have what is called the what? Trigonometric function. And most of you here, you are particular about the sine, cos, and tan, which we always use in our calculations under Pythagoras theorem, SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to be particular about that because we also do those ones in differentiation when you are trying to differentiate sine, and also when you want to talk about what integration of the sine. So now we now have what we call the logarithmic what function, and you have been particular about that since your SS2 and your SS3, which they have taught you many things about about logarithm. We also have what we call exponential function. You also have it in your calculator, and also we will talk about it in differentiation very well. And we also have what we call the even and odd function. I would like to tell you more about even and odd function because you need to know more of what even and odd function. So here now we are going to talk about the even and odd function. Now, even and odd function here. When we are talking about even and odd function, you have to know this particular two formulas that are stated here. F of minus x is equal to what? Fx is said to be what? Even. The function is said to be even if it satisfies this particular equation. Then the function is said to be odd if it satisfies this particular equation. So now I will now give you what further examples for you to understand these what two principles. Then now this in the question here, according to us here, they said determine whether the function is even, odd, or neither. So here now we have what three questions here, which says what f of x is equal to x raised to power 4 plus 3x squared. B is what f of x is equal to x raised to power 3 minus what x, and f of x is equal to what x raised to power 3 plus 2x squared plus x. Now let us go to the solution. Now the solution here states one of my solvings here, and I want you to pay attention to this. Now f of x here is equal to what x raised to power 4 plus what 3x squared. Now I told you one thing, that in order to solve any questions in even and odd functions, you have to know these two basic what equations, and you must satisfy them whether it is either odd or even, or maybe neither. So here now, what this particular function here is representing anything that's here. The function of x here, if you look at this x here, is also the x that are here. So this particular function doesn't have a particular value, which you already know. So you replace anything that's here, which is the what, which is this particular function, you replace it here to be what minus x, which is already here. So this minus x here, anywhere you see x, you replace it with what minus x, and multiply it with what with the powers. Now let us do some fundamental mathematics that we know here. That we know that minus times minus will give you what? Will give you plus, and what plus times minus will give you what minus, which you need to know. So sorry that is not clear. So in this particular case here, you already know that minus times minus in what? That depends on what? Two variables. We cancel each other to give you a plus. So we have minus times minus in what? Four places. So minus times minus, which we will cancel to be positive, and another minus times minus we will also cancel to be what? Positive. So plus and plus, it will give you a what? A positive x, which is x raised to the power 4. Here now we have what? Minus x raised to the power 2. So minus x times minus x will cancel the what? Negative sign and will give you a positive sign. So that means that the equation is what? Even. Now, going to the second question here, I want you to listen carefully. F of x is equal to what? X raised to power 3 minus x. F of x is equal to what? X raised to power 3 minus x. Now, look at this particular equation very well. I told you that anything as a function of x, you replace it with what is inside, which is what I've already stimulated here below here. So here now, they already gave us the function of x to be this particular equation. So you replace anything that's inside this x to be what? Minus x. So minus x raised to power 3. Now, let us look at this thing. Minus times minus, you say plus. Another minus will be what? A negative one. Now, we are in the second question here. F of x is equal to what? X raised to power 3 minus x. So f of minus x, I told you that anything you see inside this particular x here, you replace it with the function of the formula that satisfies this particular formula. So we are starting with the what? Even formula. So here now, anywhere you see x, you replace it with what? Minus x. So minus x, in our fundamental mathematics, we believe that minus times minus will give you what? Plus. So we are going to do minus times minus in three folds. So minus times minus will give you what? Plus. And another minus will hit that plus and will give you what? A negative sign, which is minus. So the answer here will give you what? A minus sign, which is here. Then we replace what is inside this s to be what? Minus x. So in your normal mathematics, we believe that this minus can cross with this. We give you what? A positive sign, which will give you what? Minus x cubed plus what? Plus x, which you need to what? Expand. So when you expand this particular equation here, you will see that when you are expanding, this particular equation here does not satisfy the what? Even function, because it doesn't look like this particular equation here. You can see here now it's positive, this one is negative. Why this particular side is what? Positive. Why this place is what? Negative. So in this particular case here, we expand to look, maybe it satisfies the what? The odd function. So when we expand it, minus will come outside. Then we expand it, it will become x raised to power 3 minus x. X raised to power 3 minus x, which is said to be what? An odd function. So you can see here in this particular equation here, it satisfies this particular equation. So we believe that this particular equation satisfies the what? Odd function, which is said to be what? F of x is equals to what? Minus what? Fx. So it's the function of this particular x will be the negative of the what? Function, which is said to be a what? Odd function.